What's up, everybody? Paul Hickey here with nooffseason.com. You are in the Sports Card Strategy Show feed, but this is the Golf Card Strategy Show episode 2. I'm happy to be here with Mike Lakusta, who absolutely carried the Golf Card Strategy Show episode 1. He's got a ton of knowledge on golf cards. We talk about golf card investing, but also collecting. And I'm excited to get into it with you again, Mike. How's it going, man?
Oh, it's going well. I'm super pumped for Tiger to play this weekend at the Genesis Invitational. Everybody knows Tiger Woods has been on a long road of recovery with his right leg that was pretty badly damaged in that car accident. And he's talked about difficulties walking. But the exciting thing is he says he can hit the ball and swing just as good as ever. So excited to see him tee it up this weekend at Riviera.
That's awesome, man. Now, you're the golf card expert here. You know, I played golf as a kid and through high school. I still play a little bit of golf, and I used to follow golf very, very closely, and I don't anymore. And so this might be a dumb question, but is he allowed to take a cart with his injury, or does it depend on the tournament?
That's a really good question. So technically, yes, he is allowed to. Maybe someday he will. But Tiger's said publicly time and time again that he is not going to take a cart. And I'm not sure. I think it's his ego. I think if he were to win a major or win a tournament, just riding along as on like a cripple cart or whatever, like he just wouldn't be able to do that mentally. But
interesting.
Yeah. Cool. Like John Daly is a good example who I forget what it was. A few years ago, he played the Open in Great Britain, riding in one of those carts with like a cigarette and a McDonald's cheeseburger. So I think Tiger just doesn't want to. Tiger doesn't want to devolve into something like that.
That's hilarious. John Daly, man, what classic. Yeah, I guess that's interesting because so you can get a medical dispensation or whatever. I'm sure they have a name for it with the cart. That's good. I think that's fair. I think also, I mean, I'm not speaking for Tiger, obviously, but I'm thinking maybe it has something to do with, like, I know I've been injured, like just minor injuries and stuff. And so when I'm stretched out versus sitting, like for example, driving hurts my back, right? So like if I'm walking 18, I don't have to carry my clubs. My back's probably going to feel better, and thus my legs are probably going to feel better because of that. So I wonder if it could be related to just being looser and not getting tight on the cart. But who knows, right? I mean, but you're right. I mean, it's exciting that he's coming back. That's super cool. I know that's something you want to talk about today, so we're going to get into that. You've got a great agenda for us here in terms of, like, we're going to talk a little bit about not only Tiger and his cards heading into the Genesis Invitational this weekend, but RPAs for some ultra modern players, which is we kind of got into that at the end of last episode. You've got a great list for us. I wanted to share some feedback from a listener, Bruce Holling Drake. He runs I think like a hockey card store. And I believe he's in Canada as well. I know you're in Canada, Mike, but he said, "Hey guys, well done. I just wanted to say that I enjoyed the Golf Card Strategy Show, and I'm really looking forward to episode 2. Been a golfer since the 80s, card collector since before that, and now considering golf collecting." He bought a 1926 Bobby Jones a couple of weeks ago. He said, "Not a bad way to start. Love the insight on today's players." So that's Bruce Holling Drake. He's a hockey guy, but also a golf guy. So Bruce, shout out. Hopefully you're enjoying this episode of the Golf Card Strategy Show with Mike and I. Mike, what do you think about the Bobby Jones 1926? You familiar with that?
Yeah, that's a solid play. You mentioned you asked me last time if I've been collecting any vintage golf, and I haven't. But Bobby Jones is going to be the first vintage card I buy. I don't know if the 26 is necessarily his rookie card. I'm not super up to date on that. A lot of my Facebook group members for golf cards and memorabilia do collect vintage golf, and I see a lot of their posts. So I've definitely seen that card. personally speaking, I really like the look of the what is that? The Bubblegum Sports Kings one, like the with just like that, standout yellow background with just like an athlete from the torso to the head, and it's a multi-sport set, so you can get like lots of baseball and basketball players. So there's a pretty cool Bobby Jones. I think it's from, what is that, 1931 or 33 Sport Kings. So that's something I've kind of been keeping my eye on in terms of a vintage Bobby Jones card. But I'm sure after doing some research, you'd want to find out what his proper rookie card is, and that's probably the safest investment. So 26 is definitely older, so that could be his rookie. But that's great. I mean, Bobby Jones, Gene Sarazen, Walter Hagen, Ben Hogan. There's lots of legends of the game that are, no longer around. That would be some pretty cool cards to collect.
Those are some names for sure, man. That's true. Yeah, Bobby Jones. It's listed as the 1926 is listed as a rookie card. I see a couple listings here on eBay. There's a CGA 7 near mint. CGA, is that a grading company? Like, is that a grading company you're familiar with by any chance? Card grading. Oh, it's cardgradingaustralia.com. I thought maybe it had something to do with Canada, but no. Okay. So
I would say no. So in Canada, we have one or two. I think we have two grading companies, and I don't know if reputable is the right word I would use for them. You see some of their slabs around at local shows or local stores, but those would be Mint, which is MNT.
Okay.
And they have like a little green leaf as their logo. And the second one is KSA.
KSA. Yeah, I've heard of them. They seem reputable to me.
Reputable in the sense that you could trust their grades to be within one or two grade levels of PSA or Beckett. They're not going to give you a PSA 6 in a 10 slab. So I trust them in this to get you in the right ballpark.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't put them anywhere near PSA, BGS, SGC, CGC, or CSG, or whatever that other company's called.
That's good information. Yeah, CSG. So here's I think this is the Bobby Jones that we were talking about a second ago from Doug, I think. It's RT Jones, but Bobby Jones, Robert Tyre Jones, Bobby Jones, so RT there. Pretty cool card, man. I think this is the one that we were referring to. And then here's a 1927 RT Bobby Jones, Churchman Cigarettes PSA 5. So
what's the price on that?
Well, it's listed at $449 US dollars. Buy it now. So I don't know. This is not a comp or anything. And then this is the one that's listed as a rookie, and this one's listed at $1,750 US dollars. But I don't. Or best offer. So I haven't looked up comps. So I'm not saying that's that anyone listening should go out and pay that much for it. In fact, you probably should pay less because there is that or best offer. And a lot of times we don't know. Sometimes the seller's willing to accept as low as half of the best offer. I've always heard that. But anyway,
cool
pretty
stuff.
Pretty cool there.
Do your research before you buy any vintage stuff. Honestly, go to our Facebook group, Golf Cards and Memorabilia, and throw out a post just saying what are some cool entry-level vintage golf cards if you're a collector. If you're an investor that wants to put in a bit more money, just you could even ask, or I could put up a post asking our community what's the best investment for vintage cards, and we can talk about that on another podcast.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And by the way, I don't think we'll be able to get into Tiger today. We just got so much to talk about, I think, on the ultra modern guys. So let's chat more about Tiger, I think, in episode 3. And then before we get into what I wanted to talk about with the ultra modern RPAs, also wanted to show a couple pickups. So I mentioned last episode, I'm a Matthew Wolff collector. So I got a couple of Matt Wolff cards. So last time, I think I showed you a Tony Finau Star Rubies card. So here's a Matthew Wolf Star Rubies. The Tony Finau had kind of like a orange brown kind of tinge. The Matthew Wolf has a greenish tinge, so it's kind of cool. They got different colors, but the retro Star Rubies are all numbered out of 50 on the back there, and really cool cards. It's a throwback to I want to say like 97 or 98 styling.
Yeah, it
So
kind of looks like a PMG, like a PMG
exactly.
from that era.
Throwback.
How much did you pay for that? The Matthew Wolf.
That one. So I mean, Matthew Wolf kind of falling off the map after making a switch to live meant his card prices have plummeted, which is great for me because I'm his collector. And that one I also snagged on a deal because it was a Canadian auction, and I find American or international buyers don't necessarily have their settings to they have it as like a default USA only, or another issue they might face is that it might have a higher shipping cost to ship from Canada to the US. So when I saw it and I saw it was from a Canadian shipping location, I thought, okay, I'm going to win this auction. And sure enough, I paid only like, I want to say like $3 Canadian plus $4 shipping. So I was like $7. And normally I'm trolling through US auctions and I'm the one that has to pay extra. And then I'm going to do a whole summary maybe on how I buy my cards, because as a Canadian, there's a big struggle having to use like vaulting services, ship my cards, having to let things accumulate before we ship it back to you to save on shipping costs, things like that. So I'll talk about that more later.
That would be interesting because we talked about that on the Sports Card Strategy show this morning, actually. Being a question came from some folks in the UK, and I mentioned you and some other people in Canada, and I thought you could probably add some, that you might be dealing with some of the same challenges, so you could probably add something to that. But I know you want to get
a friend of mine was asking for some advice, and I just was sending him text after text after text of my whole process, and he's like, dude, you should write a book about this. I said,
for sure.
It'd probably be easier just to talk about it on a video, so that if people who are interested and want to get into the hobby, that the thing is, we'll get into it more later, but there's a threshold of how much you buy. So if you're buying a certain amount of volume, I don't know what the threshold is, but you've got to be buying cards weekly for it to kind of like make sense to use services that charge fees in order for you to do this. But anyways, yeah, let's talk about that more later. I got two more PC cards here to show off. Well, two PC cards, one that's semi-investment. Another Matthew Wolf. This one is from the 2021 Upper Deck Metal Universe Champions. So it's a multi-sport set, similar to Goodwin Champions. First year of the set. This one is kind of like the spark. You can't really see it in the video. It's got like a sparkly kind of finish. It's numbered at $2.99. So that's a pretty sweet Matthew Wolf card. And then last but not least, actually last and best, Colin Morikawa, PMG, blue, numbered out of 25.
Wow.
So this one, it's a card that was on auction, not this exact number. It was a different number out of 25 2 months ago. Similar stories to Matthew Wolf. It was from a Canadian auction house. And I thought to myself, I want to win this because my major competitors in the US might not be bidding on it. So I put, I think, a max bid of $100 Canadian, and it sold for like $102.50. So somebody had a higher number than me on their bid. And I was really pissed. So I saw this one come up for auction, and it was actually a person that I knew. So I contacted him directly, and I said, hey, end your auction. I want to buy this card from you. So I paid him, slightly more than the last one sold for. He was happy to get more than recent comps, and I was happy to get the card that I missed out on. So yeah, definitely.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, cool. You can see numbered out of 25 on the back there. So
that's so nice.
Yeah, I paid, I think, 110 shipped within Canada. So Canadians, that's only $70 to $75 US. Honestly, I think this card could easily be worth double that. A blue PMG numbered out of 25.
I was gonna say, if you were to like bring that to a card show in the States at the right time, or if you were to just list it at the right time on eBay, I think you could double that for sure.
Yeah. Now that's not really my objective, but I may end up doing it just in order to keep cascading into bigger and bigger cards.
Sure.
We talked about this last time. I'm pretty much buying PC cards until I don't have any money left, and then I start selling them, trying to pinpoint in my collection what cards I could sell for more than I bought for, so that I'm not only kind of turning over my PC, but also, growing it in value. Doesn't always work. Sometimes it does. That's one I think will work out. But hey, let's talk more about some ultra modern cards.
Yeah.
So in my little summary that I sent you just before we met today, I had 4 different sets that I want to talk about. They're all 2021 sets, so it's kind of that new era of golf cards. Because remember, we didn't get any golf cards between 2014 and 2021. So we had 3 pure golf sets and one, actually technically 2 multi-sport sets. Only one of them that I really want to talk about. So the 3 golf sets were Upper Deck Artifacts Golf, SP Game Used, and SP Authentic. And they were released in that order. Just to give a little bit of summary of those 3 sets, Artifacts, in my opinion, is the true rookie cards of these guys. And so I also think of the RPAs, the rookie patch autos, as the RPA of these golfers. When you get into the nuance, though, the problem is that Artifacts and SP Game Used were sticker autos. So not ideal in terms of, everybody prefers to have an on-card auto.
Mm-hmm.
The only exception is they have leaderboard cards, which is, in other sports where you can get patch cards that have the spell the player's name out. So have like one letter on each card.
Yeah.
So we have that in I think it was SP Game Used, where it's like a plexi plastic kind of thing, and the golfers or the players actually sign directly on that. So that's not a sticker auto. And so there are rookies that have that in SP Game Used. But other than that, all of the stickers from those 2 sets all the autos were stickers. SP Authentic was on card autos. So they're all considered rookie autos and rookie patch autos. Personally, I like to collect and invest in the Artifacts because they came out first. Before I get into some of them, I'm curious what your thoughts are on that. Like if basketball or F1 or whatever sports you follow come out with multiple sets, do you consider all of them being a rookie card, all of them being the rookie autos and rookie patch autos, or are there just certain sets, even if they come out later, you consider that being like the iconic rookie patch auto?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think so I'll try to break it down quickly, but in say F1 and like Bowman baseball prospecting, I would say that pretty much the chrome, like the Bowman chrome first in baseball, and then the Topps chrome in F1 would be like the true rookie. And people in the comments can kind of either validate this or chime in. But like the Sapphire edition of each of those would be like technically also a rookie card, or a Bowman Chrome first Sapphire edition for baseball would technically still be like a first, but typically they're not going to be as sought after as the actual first one. So it's kind of like, it's like they're acknowledged as rookies, but they're not necessarily as desirable. Basically, that's the best way to put it. And I think in basketball and football, there's some similar equivalents. Like you now have rookie patch autos or RPAs in like almost every set. But there's only typically one that's acknowledged as like the true RPA. And typically that comes out of a set for basketball and football, like either flawless or immaculate or national treasures. And I think, and there may even be true RPAs for all of those, but, I don't know the criteria off the top of my head. I'd have to do some research on it. So essentially the short answer is like, there is sort of a truer rookie, but they all are acknowledged as rookies and they're all valuable. You'll see like you won't get much debate on people saying this is not a Bowman Chrome first if it literally says first Bowman on it. And you won't get a debate really if people say if it has RC on it and it'll be listed as rookie card, say on eBay or a different auction, and nobody will have a beef with that. But at the end of the day, there will probably be one or two that will be more desirable than the rest. So, and then in terms of golf, like I was just gonna add, because it's a great the way that you broke it down is perfect. I would say, like, as a basketball guy and an other sport guy, like basically basketball, football, baseball are my main sports. And then F1, soccer are kind of my other two that I've really gotten into and considered like pretty well versed in those. But as a basketball guy, like the SP Authentic brand of Upper Deck, like is equated to like LeBron and Jordan. And so to have the SP Authentic in the mix for golf for guys like obviously Tiger and even like Morikawa and some of the other more ultra modern guys, like I would immediately gravitate towards the SP Authentic just because it's like of the brand recognition of some of the deals that like Jordan and LeBron have. And I think even Kobe might have some SP Authentic stuff. So anyway,
you're absolutely right. And when I collected basketball back in the early 2000s, SP Authentic was, that was kind of the baseline set. And I mentioned these 3 sets that were just golf. The 4th set that we're going to talk about a little bit is a subset of Upper Deck Goodwin Champions. They actually released retro exquisite rookie autos. It's only for two players.
Okay.
So actually, you know what? Why don't we start with that one? That's the oddball. We'll just take a quick look at those 2 exact cards, and then we'll dive into the other golf stuff. But before I forget, you're correct. SP Authentic is the more desirable one in terms of golf, and Upper Deck was smart with how they released this. So they came out with Artifacts first, which was a little bit of a new set. They had never had an Artifacts golf set before, but there was this hunger for golf cards, so they knew people would buy it. So whether or not it was a desirable product in the long run, they knew people would eat it right up. Then SP Game Used is a more traditional set. They decided to release it second because it's not as desirable as SP Authentic, but if they released it, people would, still be hungry for more stuff. And if they released it after SP Authentic, people would probably still be chasing SP Authentic.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that kind of makes sense how they released those 3 sets. Me as a collector, I'm just kind of obsessed with Artifacts. Partly because it was the first one. I ripped a couple hobby boxes. I've got some really good memories, some really cool cards from it. So that's kind of my set. So maybe don't take my investment advice. We'll talk about some Artifacts cards in a little bit. But hey, let's jump over to Goodwin Champions. I don't know if the cards will actually be featured on the Cardboard Connection site.
It looks like, so you said it's a multi-sport site. So what we're looking at right now is just photos of the other sports, but
exactly.
But talk about the golf guys. So it's $99 for a hobby box. So if you're looking for golf, who are you trying to pull here?
So there's Matthew Wolff, Bryson DeChambeau, Colin Morikawa, and actually, so they've got a pretty wide variety of cards. They don't just have that particular exquisite retro card that I was talking about. They also have like base autos, horizontal autos, Goody autos, splash of color autos, which is actually one of my favorites. It kind of looks like a color blast with an on-card auto underneath with like an ink pen, not just like a kind of a lame auto, but like it really stands out. Actually, I have a Colin Morikawa splash of color PSA 20. So like a PSA 10 and 10 auto.
Nice. I like that. I've never heard PSA 20 before.
Here's that card right now. So Colin Morikawa, look at that blue awesome ink pen auto 1010.
Yes.
One of my favorite, actually, my favorite Colin Morikawa card that I have. So
I'm jealous of that one.
Thanks. I overpaid for the card because I bought it maybe a month or 2 months after release. But the fact that I submitted and got a PSA 1010 means whatever value it's dropped, I think I've made up for in the fact that it's probably a low pop card. A lot of guys that are submitting a PSA don't necessarily do the dual service where you get the auto grade and the card grade. Yeah. And the fact that it's a gem mint on both is pretty phenomenal. So one of my favorite PC cards, and it's from that 2021 Goodwin Champions set. So not necessarily for a purist golf collector, an ideal card because it came from a multi-sport set instead of a pure golf set. But I really like it. Now, if you don't mind, go over to eBay and on the search bar, type in 2021 Exquisite Auto Morikawa. And there might not be any for sale or listed right now, so you may have to then go to the sold listings. And because I know one did sell within the last month or two, so you'll at least be able to see it. And what you're gonna find is just a beautiful white. I don't like using the word plain, but like simplistic styling with just like a box on the top of the card that is going to be reminiscent of like the LeBron James rookie auto card that's so popular. You see what I mean? Like that.
I love it.
Exquisite rookie auto with just that beautiful autograph.
I like his signature too.
Oh, and we're also going to talk a little bit about Bryson DeChambeau, who's not as hot these days because he left PGA Tour for LIV. He's also only won one major, whereas Morikawa has two. But I just love the styling. It kind of feels like the what are those big sets in basketball, like National Treasures, or
yes, it does feel like a National Treasures or Flawless.
Yeah, Flawless, exactly. So it's that ultra premium style of rookie auto. So there's this Colin Morikawa and there's a Bryson DeChambeau, and those are the only two players that have this card. I'm a huge fan of this. Actually, Paul, you and I were exchanging some messages like last fall, and this one was on auction. I think I sent you a note saying, "Hey man, if you are interested in like following some golf cards, keep an eye on this auction." At that time, prices were a little higher. I think it's sold for over $1,000, and if you look at this one, the auction ended at $520. So it's good that neither of us bidded on it at that time, but they're rare, right? They're numbered out of 49. So, and the fact that you can only get Colin and Bryson means, if you're a golf collector, there's literally only 98 of this retro exquisite type cards that you can get.
I wonder, like, I this price point is attractive to me, $520 and it's just such a nice card, numbered out of 49 with the on-card auto. Knowing Morikawa could still win quite a few tournaments, should still win quite a few tournaments in his career, and he can get hot, right? So, wondering if this is something where you try to get a card in a BGS 9-10 and crack the slab and submit it to PSA, even getting a PSA 9-10. Typically in other sports ups the value of the card immediately. Is that something that translates over to the golf collecting community? What's in?
It's a great question. So before I talk about if that's a good move for the golf community, I'll warn you that cracking and resubbing is a risky game, especially once you get it in the higher end cards. You have to look at the subgrades. It's actually a benefit that it's BGS in this case for two reasons. One, BGS has that inner sleeve, which protects the card when you're cracking it. Because I've actually cracked some PSA cards within the last, probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. And luckily, one card was worth like well over $1,000 that I cracked. The other one was about $150 card. The $150 card got slightly damaged as I cracked it because they were both PSA slabs, and PSA kind of shatters and sends these little bits of plastic down onto the card. When you're cracking a BGS slab, it's got the inner penny sleeve. So when you're cracking, the card theoretically should be a little bit safer. And I cracked a Tiger Woods 2001 rookie card out of a BGS slab, and I can confirm they are actually a lot safer
Nice.
to do that.
Good to know.
So you want to look at the subs though. So this one has a surface 9.5 is great. That means there's no dents or whatever. Corners 9, centering 9, edges 9.5. That's actually a good candidate for subbing to PSA because you've got all subs are 9 or better. What I would be looking out for is if one of the subs is an 8.5, PSA could, in a flash, turn that into a PSA 8.
Okay.
And in some cases, depending on like if it's a corner 8.5, and you look at the card and you realize actually like 2 or 3 of the corners have some dings or fraying and whatever, BGS might say, yeah, it's 2 or 3 corners, they're not that bad, so it gets an 8.5. Whereas PSA might look at that and say, that qualifies it for a 7. And
Right.
so you have to be really aware of the nuanced grade levels for both companies that you're trying to swap it between. So your question about the golf community, generally speaking, we all know that PSA carries a premium in terms of resale value. And that's relatively true for golf cards as well. Similar to some old school baseball collectors, though, there are actually some modern golf card collectors who prefer BGS and they like the subgrades. And when I say modern, I mean 2001 and newer. And so, I know a guy named Mike, who's got an epic golf collection. So shout out, Mike, if you're listening to this. I'm not going to throw out your IG handle because I don't know if you want people sleuthing you. But anyways, he's got like Tiger rookies, Jack Nicklaus rookies out the wazoo, and everything he has is graded with BGS. And he's got a collection of hundreds of BGS 9.5s that I don't even know the value of his collection, but it's really impressive. And he's not the only guy like that. There's a lot of baseball collectors that have all their stuff invested in BGS, and to think they can't change their ways. Not only would it cost the $15 or $20 to submit each card to PSA, but then they're going to get upcharged on everything if they've got a pretty high-end collection too. So they're pretty much stuck with a BGS collection.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, is it a play with that exact card? I would actually say yes. But I wouldn't say, like, generally speaking, if you see a golf card in a BGS slab, that you could just swap it over to PSA and make some money.
Gotcha. Nice. Okay. Well, what set did you want to go to next, or what cards?
So before we move on, I'll also mention, so that Morikawa card we just looked at, there actually are RPA versions of it. I haven't seen any come across on eBay. I've seen some on Instagram. I forget the guy's handle, but there's somebody I'm connected with who's got the Colin Morikawa. I think it's out of 5 or 10 or something like that. And it's got the beautiful signature, the same image, but it also has a patch, like a 3-color patch in the middle of the card. So, and these cards weren't actually part of the original Goodwin Champions checklist. So they might have come from the e-packs, or they may have just been a surprise that they kind of threw into the set. So moving on, let's talk about artifacts. So we'll go in chronological order. The card I want you to pull up is actually a card I purchased last week. So
right, let's
go on to eBay. We can talk about my other recent pickup. So 2021 Upper Deck Artifacts, Bryson DeChambeau. I think it's called Dual Relic. Technically, it's called Dual Relic Auto. So see if that pulls anything up. This is a card that I bought for a few reasons. When Artifacts first came out, this card was selling for thousands of dollars.
Is it this one right here? This
that's
out of 85?
No, actually. Okay. So
Okay.
that's the same card, number 85. I bought the one out of 10. So if you actually go to the sold listings, so I want to talk about that's actually a card that's more attainable probably for our listeners, but let's look at can you put out of 10 actually?
Yeah.
So the number out of 85 on the Artifacts checklist is kind of like the base RPA for kind of like the higher end golfers, the higher end players. So guys like Bryson, Morikawa, Wolf at the time was considered high end, Justin Thomas, Tony Finau. Those guys are all going to have their base RPA numbered out of 85. Yeah, this is the one I bought. And then they've got a more lower numbered card out of 10. And so I bought this Bryson DeChambeau out of 10. If you look at his auto there, it definitely rivals Morikawa's.
Yeah,
Would
it's
you
very
agree?
nice signature. The patch is cool too.
Cool
Well,
patch.
yeah.
And so this is called the gold parallel of the RPA. The other one is, I think, like a silver. I don't know if they refer to those colors or not, but that's the actual scheme on the card. And I loved this card when Artifacts came out 2 years ago, and it was like a dream card that I couldn't even imagine owning because it was worth it was selling for thousands, and I picked this card up for I think $160 or something like that.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, and it's already graded. I mean, 8.5 isn't necessarily the best grade, but I mean, it's near mint plus, or near mint plus. I think the lowest grade on there was an 8 on the subgrades. And auto 10, so the auto doesn't have any funny business on it. And ultimately, this is kind of one of those cards that's going to sit in my PC because I always wanted a high-end Bryson DeChambeau card, and if it doesn't go up in value, no problem, it's my card. And if Bryson wins a bunch of live events, or if live falls apart, he comes back and crushes it on the PGA, or even regardless of all that, if he just wins another 1 or 2 majors, I feel like paying $160 for his first RPA numbered out of 10 could easily double if, the stars align.
It seems like a no-brainer. I love it. Great play, Mike. And I think like for everyone out there too, it's like Mike knows that if he sold this card, like if he needed to sell this card or like just got sick of it or whatever, like I think he'd at least get his money back, or like worst case scenario, maybe 80% of his money back. And that's the thing I love about sports card investing, is that you can buy something and then essentially return it later and make someone's day, and still kind of, and like you had it for a while. So you had the joy of having it. You had the adrenaline rush of like, getting it in the mail, opening it, all that good stuff, and showing it off, talking about it. But then if you ever really need the money, I mean, you could probably, like worst case scenario, get 80 to 85% of your money back for this, and still have had the enjoyment of owning it, and then make someone else's day for selling it to them. So I think like all of what you walked through is like probably more likely to happen than what I'm saying. But I think just kind of wanted to remind everybody out there that, taking a chance on cards like this, you get some enjoyment out of it, and you can always get your money back if you need to, for the most part.
Honestly, Paul, I would even say I'm a more of a realist than that. I would say Bryson has had a little bit of an injury history, like he broke his wrist or something like that. It wasn't golf related. I think he slipped and fell or something. But I mean, he's put on a lot of weight, a lot of weight lifting. He put on like 45 pounds between when COVID first shut down the PGA Tour, and they shut down for like 6 months. He came back like 40 or 45 pounds heavier, and that puts a stress on your body. So I think he's going to be playing golf for a long time, because he was nicknamed the scientist. He's done so many innovative things for golf. When he first joined the tour, I was a big Bryson fan. He kind of had my figure, like not a big guy, but he was trying to figure out how to hit the ball farther. He was the first guy to play. I don't know if he's the first guy to play single length irons, but he was the first one to have a lot of success with single length irons. So he doesn't, his pitching wedge is like the same length as his 5-iron. He uses these like big fat, like super stroke type grips on his irons, which is so weird. People prefer to have narrow grips with like a good feel on them. What else was Bryson doing? And then he put on those 40, 45 pounds because he was kind of like analyzing the game and realized accuracy, which was kind of the name of the game, get it in the fairway so you can throw a dart from there, wasn't really the objective. When you looked at the stats, he said, get it as close to the green as possible. And even if I'm in the rough, as long as I'm not behind a tree, I should be able to chip it close and putt for birdie. And that's how he overpowered Wingfoot for his US Open major championship. He was the only one to shoot under par. I think he was like 5 or 6 under, and everybody else, actually Matthew Wolff came second, I think, at even par. So that's kind of the era of golf that I was really flourishing in. But so I think he's such an innovator in the game. I think he'll continue doing that. I don't think he's going to retire in the next 10 years because of all this Saudi money that he's gotten from Live Golf. I think he's going to keep playing because he loves the game. And so a card like this, I think, is a safe investment. But I'm a realist. And I was talking to my friend the other day, and I said, this is a card that if Bryson does vanish off the face of the planet, could drop down to $40. And if that
Mhm.
happens, I lost 75% of my investment, but I've still got a card that I like. It's numbered out of 10. So where am I going to find another one?
Right. Yeah.
Are the other 9 of them going to get hit eBay? And maybe not, probably not. So I just saw it as an opportunity to get a card that I would really like. I don't think it's going to drop down to $40. So
When you think of it that way, the way you put it, you got an out of 10 card for 155 US dollars. And it's a legit player in their sport. So and I don't know, like I've never had that low of a serial numbered card. Like, I mean, I think out of 50 is the lowest I've ever had in any sport, and it's like a $400 card raw. So
wow.
it's it's a good. I think this is a good play, man. I like it. Beautiful
Cool.
card.
Speaking of low numbered, I actually purchased a Matthew Wolf 1/1 a couple of weeks ago. I spent way too much money on it, but um, I was having some luck selling some stuff on eBay and stuff and on Facebook groups, so I decided to treat myself. Anyway, I don't have it with me to show you. Sorry. So to finish off artifacts, RPAs, if you don't mind, go on eBay and just let's look up. I mean, we were talking about Tony Finau last episode, so just pull up the Tony Finau dual relic rookie patch auto, because I think you'll find one that's numbered out of 85. The tier 2 or tier 3 or whatever version, other rookies. So you've got like Abraham Answer, Siwoo Kim, Michael Thompson. There's like a whole bunch of rookies, probably like 25 or 30 rookies in the set. So the 5 that we keep talking about are the ones that are going to be numbered out of 85 and the premium version numbered out of 10. But there's actually a lot of other rookies you could collect and invest in that are numbered out of 149 is kind of the base RPA, and then the more premium one is out of 25. So keep scrolling. There's some
Artifacts gold out of 25.
Yeah, that's in Aurum signatures. So you can tell there's a lot of different types of autos in artifacts. Keep scrolling. I mean,
Diamond out of 49.
There it is, right there.
Out of 15 right here.
No, it's the one at the bottom of your screen. Out of that one right there.
Out of 85.
Yeah, out of 85. So this is kind of the tier that is more affordable. Typically they've got just one color patches. And then instead of like a gold foiling on the left side of the card, they've got more of like a silver foiling. So I have this card for Maverick McNeely. There's another actually up and coming rookie who's got good potential. I've got his out of 149. Who else do I have? Actually, I have a Nikolai Hodgegaard out of 149 dual patch auto. So, depending on who you collect, who you like, you can get some of these. Actually, you can get some of these for kind of like the tier 2 golfers for literally like $5 for an RPA numbered out of 149.
Yeah, because so this came out in 2021. So now, I mean, basically, we've had 2 years for like the initial hype to kind of settle down and for the market to settle. So now you can go, like you're saying, snipe some sleepers, right? So you mentioned a couple of guys just now that are interesting. Like, put you on the spot here. Like, who would you what sleepers for $5 to $10 would you try to target?
So I would, and this is going to be biased because I'm Canadian, but there's 2 really good golfers out of Canada that I speak really highly of, Nick Taylor and Adam Hadwin. Nick Taylor and Adam Hadwin were sharing the lead after the first round of the Waste Management this last weekend. And then after I think they were sharing the lead after round 1 and round 2, or going into the weekend. Both of them were either first or second. Then Adam didn't have a great weekend, but Nick Taylor actually was pretty much co-leading with Scotty Scheffler for the whole weekend. And he ended up coming runner-up solo second to Scotty Scheffler. And Scotty Scheffler's world #1 golfer.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a guy like Scotty's going to win tournaments. So, if Scotty had an off day, Nick Taylor would have won a pretty big purse. And that was an elevated event. So the way the PGA Tour is trying to combat the whole live program is they took the top, I want to say something like the top 30 golfers, and they had a big meeting. They had a couple big meetings, actually. Tiger was facilitating one of them. And they as kind of the core group of the PGA Tour committed to all playing in, it's like 12 or 13 events in the year, in addition to all of the majors. And so at these 12 events, it's going to be like a big draw for viewers because you've got all of the top 30 golfers. And it's not necessarily top 30 of the world. It's the top guys that everybody talks about, big social media presence, like the guys that everybody comes to see.
The most popular guys.
So Waste Management was one of those tournaments. And so that's why when you looked at the leaderboard through the 4 days, like constantly in the top 10, it was like 8 names that you always want to see at the top. And so it creates for a lot of exciting golf.
Like I was checking in. I was actually checking in on the weekend just to see what was going on the ESPN app. I didn't watch any of it, but I was just checking the leaderboard, and I recognized the names, right? So that's interesting that you said that. It kind of makes sense, and it makes sense why they would do that as well. So Oh My Shoes, 2 shows in 1 day. Nice to have you, Oh My Shoes, on the live stream. Let us know if you're new to golf cards, and or if you want to chime in with a question on golf cards, Mike will take it.
Paul,
Mike wants to keep going into some of the other sets that you want to
before we get into the other sets too. I have to be fully honest when I talk about cards, because you ask me if I who I think is a sleeper. I have to tell you if I own the cards, because otherwise I don't agree with pump and dump. I don't think our audience is big enough for that per se, but like I will tell you, I'll be fully honest, I have the tier 1 versions of the RPAs for both Nick Taylor and Adam Hadwin. So this is that gold.
Very nice.
That's the gold level. These guys were not the premium rookies for the sets. These ones are numbered out of 25 instead of 10. But some pretty cool patches with some design logos on them.
I have to say, I like those patches better than the Tony Finau we just saw on eBay.
Yeah, exactly. So these guys also have numbered out of 149 versions, which would look a lot like the Tony Finau version.
Makes sense that the 25 would have nicer patches. That's great.
Yeah. So let's move on to SP Game Used. I'm just trying to think of what they called the RPA for that set. For fun, scroll through Cardboard Connection checklist here, just so people can get an idea of what the set looks like. Artifacts came in a hobby box with 8 packs of like 4 or 5 cards per pack. So not a big hobby box, but at least you're ripping like a handful of packs. SP Game Used comes with just a single pack in a hobby box. So in that pack, you're going to get like, I think 1 or 2 base cards, which you saw at the beginning of this checklist. And then you're going to get like 3 premium cards, which could be, this inked driver or one of these leaderboard autos that you see Kang's name on, or like a dual patch or an autograph card.
Now this one has some female golfers in it. I just saw Annika Sorenstam. So is this and Nancy Lopez, is this unique to this set, or I don't mean to take us backwards in the show here, but is this the only set that has females in it, or do they all?
No, actually every single golf set is both males and females. So you'll have, I was going to say PGA and LPGA players, but it's kind of funny now that we've got Live and we've got the DP World Tour, which used to be the European Tour. So you've got golfers from all over the world, different tours, both genders. And that's actually been the case since I believe 2001. Upper Deck Golf was the first one where it had men and women, and it's been like that ever since, including the multi-sport sets. So if you've got Goodwin Champions, Metal Universe Champions, those ones you can get PMGs of lady golfers and men golfers as well.
Very cool. I like that.
So the RPA that I wanted to talk about didn't come up as you were scrolling that checklist. Oh, there it is. Perfect. So that's the Colin Morikawa one. So that card right there is, I guess it's called the First Tee Rookies. And you can see next to Colin's arm, there's like a little, it's not a square, it's like a two sides with like a rounded edge. And that's where the patch is. And yeah, I don't know. What do you think of the aesthetics of that one compared to the Artifacts RPAs we were just looking at?
I feel like I'm glad you asked. I don't love the aesthetic as much. I mean, going back to the one, what was the Exquisite? Was that part of Goodwin's? Like Goodwin's
Yes,
Exquisite? That's
it
my
was.
favorite design that we've looked at so far. I think that the SP, the one, I don't want to get this wrong. This one's the game used. So the SP,
So Artifacts was the first set.
Artifact. Yeah, the Artifacts I think would come in next for me, and then this one would be third. And I think if I remember, so we've got this Morikawa at nooffseason.com listed in the pricing data for his profile, and I think this one sells for the least. And my guess is because it's out of 299 rather than it's not as it's higher serial numbered. I don't love the aesthetic as much. What I think would be cool, like I don't know what the patches are. I think to me the boring patch would be like just like a cut of the shirt or something. I feel like if there's a piece of the glove, or if there's a piece of like the logo, like the Adidas logo, or if there's something from the hat, if there's a ball marker anywhere that's actually been used, like those kinds of things. And I don't know, I mean, you probably know off the top of your head if these kinds of things are even in there. Am I in the ballpark at all? Am I on the fringe?
Yeah.
Am I in the way off in the
no,
trees? Where am
no,
I?
no, no, you're not too far off the green. So the lower or the higher numbered parallels for RPAs are going to have just a cut of the shirt. It's just going to be a plain one. If you're lucky, the guy was wearing a two-tone shirt and they just happened to cut that patch along the seam.
Right.
The lower number ones could have something fancy. So I've got a Matthew Wolf, this card, but the lower parallel number out of 10 with one of his shirt buttons on it. There are some that have a golf glove, and there's some that have a golf hat. I don't think they did any cleats this year, but and then as you saw on the Artifacts patches, there's ones with logos, which are, in my opinion, the coolest.
Yeah.
Ones where you can see like letters and or Nike swooshes, that kind of stuff. I totally agree with you. In my opinion, this is the kind of least aesthetic looking one. A little bit boring. I mentioned at the very beginning of the episode, but the other thing to consider is that this is a sticker auto. So you can't totally tell looking at it, but it's like,
Yeah.
and it's not great looking. It's got a sticker auto. It's like, for me, I actually have two of the Matthew Wolf numbered out of 10s because I'm a big Matthew Wolf collector, but I didn't spend a ton of money on them, and it's my guy. And, I already have his other RPAs, so I wanted this one too. And somebody happened to have one and gave me a good deal. So it's like, I'm all right with padding my collection with, creating like a rainbow type of situation. But if I were to buy one Matthew Wolf card, it would not be that particular set or that card.
Yeah, like I would rather pay, the $500 to $700 range for the Goodwin Exquisite that we saw, than whatever this might be, $200 or $300. I could be off on that.
I think this could actually be selling for in the range of like 1 to 150. So
okay. Yeah,
that's
so
the other
I'm not
thing
too
is like,
far off.
some and the Exquisite doesn't come up very often too, because I kind of scan eBay quite often for that particular card, and it only comes up once or twice a year. So if our listeners are wanting to get into a Colin Morikawa auto card, they're not going to sit around like me as a golf enthusiast waiting for 6 months for hoping that one pops up. They're probably better off buying his Artifacts or his SP game used, or better yet, his SP authentic rookie patch auto. Of course, there's tiers of pricing, so it depends on how much you're willing to spend. But I'm in agreement with you. Like, let's just say you could get an SP authentic auto RPA for, a few $100. that might be better for both collecting and investing than spending $130 on this particular card, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think like it depends on what your end game is. Like if you're a collector and you just want a more, and you're starting and this is like your first purchase and you know you want this card and you're gonna hold it, then that's one scenario that doesn't apply to what I said. But what I'm doing is looking to profit essentially off of each and every purchase I would make. And so my thought is that, and I could be wrong, but Mike, if you're familiar at all with sort of baseball prospecting, like you've got Bowman Chrome first autos essentially are always going to sell. And that's going to they're going to be far more expensive than like a Topps rookie auto of the player. But your Topps rookie auto, is not going to have, it's going to have a very, very, very low ceiling. And the Bowman Chrome first rookie, like auto, a prospect auto is going to have basically an unlimited ceiling. And so if you're going to bet on the player or the golfer in this case, you're going to want to buy the more desirable card, because if you believe that the golfer is going to win tournaments and his prices are going to spike, then you really want the unlimited upside and not necessarily the low ceiling. And then conversely, like if you aren't sure how good the golfer is going to be, it's going to be that the higher end card is going to end up being more desirable. So it's almost like, even though you're paying more money and you may pay 2, 3, 4 times the price, which to a new person entering in is going to seem like, why would I do that? Why wouldn't I just dip my toe in the water of this card, for example, out of $299? But the reality is, like, if Morikawa in this case doesn't win another tournament or struggles and his prices plummet for whatever reason, like the higher end card should actually stay up there in price to where you actually don't lose as much as you would lose. Like you have a higher floor also, is what I'm
like what we were talking about with the DeChambeau card. It's numbered out of 10. Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with you. And the other consistent thing with these sets that we're talking about today is that they don't just have the autographed and the RPAs that we're talking about. There are actually a lot of other I don't know if insert's the right word, but like subsets within the set with lots of different autos. Look at that Justin Thomas. There's inked fabrics. There's hole-in-one remnants. There's I don't know. Actually, you know what? This is a good transition, Paul, because you were talking about this being the lower end one that might not be as investable. But out of these 3 sets, perhaps the most investable is SP Authentic. So maybe if you can pull up the SP Authentic checklist on Cardboard Connection, because SP Authentic has all of the original subsets that golf enthusiasts collected between 2001 and 2014.
That's cool.
They've got Marks of Distinction, Sign of the Times. They've got Exquisite, actually. It's not as like clean looking National Treasures styling as the one from Goodwin, but they do have like a beautiful Exquisite. The one you're looking at there right there with Bryson DeChambeau is his base rookie auto. This base rookie auto is the right entry point for a card because it has a couple of tiers. So the stars are, I believe, going to be numbered out of $7.99. I don't know if you can zoom in or see that, but and then there's out of $2.99.
Yeah, this
variants.
one's out of $2.99 right
Okay,
here.
so I guess the tier one got tier 1 players: Bryson, Morikawa, Matthew Wolff, Justin Thomas, Tony Finau. Those guys are going to be numbered out of $2.99 for their base, and then there's probably a lower numbered version as well.
And this design too, Mike, like I'm glad you took us here, because compared to what we just saw with the game used, like we saw the Morikawa out of $2.99. This is a DeChambeau out of $2.99. To me, this SP Authentic brand that we talked about earlier being like more recognizable because of basketball, and the design is just better. So I don't know what the price point is for the box, but in terms of buying singles, I'd probably go in this direction before the game used.
Yeah, aesthetically, and also, as you said, connections to basketball and other sports, and also traditional golf cards. Because between 2001 and 2014, all of the other golfers that maybe we're not talking as much about right now, but like Louis Oosthuizen, Dustin Johnson, um, Gary Woodland, a lot of kind of like older guys that are actually still golfing and actually doing pretty well. They have rookie cards that match this styling. They're the SP Authentic base rookie auto, and if you look at a DJ rookie auto of this nature, even numbered out of 299, they're selling for like $1,000. Like the buy it now, the cheapest buy it now, I think is between $1,200 and $1,500 US, graded, something like maybe like a BGS 9 or something like that. And so DJ was number one in the world for a while. He's got some, cool cultural situations. He married to Wayne Gretzky's daughter. He's a bit of a bad boy, has kind of a reputation that maybe like to go partying and stuff. So not to the level of John Daly, but like, he was kind of a really liked golfer. And so his cards stayed high in price, and he's got some majors under his belt. He was so dominant at the Masters. Anyways, that card you're showing there right now is the Marks of Distinction, Colin Morikawa. And I think those are numbered out of 25. I've got a really cool one of those cards with Gary Player from, I think it was 2012. So if you get somebody like me who's a collector and has like a Gary Player Marks of Distinction numbered out of 25 auto, and I, am wanting to prospect on Colin or even just collect Colin Morikawa, that's a card I might want because it's consistent with the rest of my collection.
That's a great point. I'm glad you're bringing this up because this is something that would totally be over my head in terms of golf cards. And so for anyone listening or watching, I think this is extremely valuable information where Mike's kind of helping us pair the ultra modern cards in the subsets with the history of golf cards, because certainly it applies. I mean, it's in terms of like just recognizability. I think when we all find something we like in life, we gravitate back to that. So I think that's a great point.
So keep scrolling. There's a couple other cool autographs on here. So Sign of the Times, that's the dual Sign of the Times, but Sign of the Times is actually one of the most popular golf autograph sets before. And okay, stop.
Here's your guy.
There's my guy. So that is the exquisite RPA. So we actually went off a little bit off the rails talking just about autograph cards, because there's also retro tribute autos, authentic moments autos, but none of them have the patch. And today I kind of wanted to focus on RPAs, rookie patch autos. This one is I think we should finish off talking about this particular subset, because out of all the cards we just talked about, I think the rookie patch auto exquisite series is the most collectible and investable. There's, I think, a Tony Finau of this exact card, which is listed for buy it now at like $199 US. So it doesn't have that clean, flawless National Treasures, pure white with the Pokemon foil action photo. This one looks a little bit more like a golf card because it's got the green in the background and, some other colors. But so Paul might not like it as much because it's not as,
I do like this design though.
But this is a really cool design.
Very nice.
And they're numbered out of 99, I believe. So that's pretty good scarcity. That patch is kind of boring with the whatever, but some of them have Nike swooshes, multiple colors. They're kind of hard to find in gem mint condition. So, even if you get one at like an 8.5, like I did on my Bryson, I feel like that's a pretty investable card.
Yeah, this is a clean design. And if I could get a Nike swoosh on a golf, it would be like a Rory, maybe. I don't know. He wouldn't have a rookie, obviously, but
Rory actually hasn't been printed in recent sets. So his newest cards
not in here.
Yeah, he wasn't even printed in some recent Goodwin sets either. Okay. I think the newest Rory McIlroy card you can get is from 2014, and it's kind of upsetting because up until this last weekend he was the number one golfer in the world. So
yeah, actually, so I'm glad that is where we are right now, because I wanted to ask you. So there's Tiger, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously. And I mean, and we talk about Colin and some of these other guys that have some name recognition, and have had a little bit of hype around them because of kind of winning some big tournaments at a young age. I mean, I'm not asking if you think there's going to be another Tiger Woods, but I'm asking if you think that there's going to be another golfer that helps golf's popularity to more of the masses or more of the mainstream. And maybe it's not a golfer per se, but maybe it's something in just culture in general. Like maybe it's the sports books, right? Because more and more people are into golf for different reasons. And
Mhm.
I'm wondering if you think that there's a golfer or a reason to buy, say, because you mentioned like this being the most investable, this exquisite collection card that we're looking at for Matthew Wolf right now. What do you think the upside is, for golf cards? And this can be something that we go into, we talk about in future episodes as well.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so one thing to pay attention to is the trends of the market. Um, I'm not going to say my opinion one way or the other about another podcaster, Sports Card Radio, but they announced in a video a couple days ago they were combating what people are saying about the market, that the market hit its bottom and it's on the way up now. Whether or not that's the case, I don't know. But they did cite specifically that golf cards and another kind of niche sport were the only ones in the last month that had an uptick in price. Is that because the Netflix series is coming out? Is that because we're just starting the golf season? And the elevated events are starting. The Masters is less than 2 months away. So I don't know exactly why, but the golf card index, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
has been going up in recent months. So that's a good sign.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, but in terms of kind of like a qualitative answer, like what's going on, I don't really know what it would take to hit the masses. I mean, I'm an enthusiast for golf and golf cards. So for me, I'm just looking for new products, new golfers, new stuff to collect, invest, flip, etc. But for Joe Blow on the street who doesn't really follow golf, I don't know if they necessarily will. Um, the golf world's also been shaken up lately because of Live. It's going to be pretty interesting to watch this Netflix series that comes out in 2 days. It's coming out on Wednesday, February 15th. I think they're going to release an installment, so that might only actually be the first episode. But regardless, I've convinced my wife to watch it with me, so that I know I
Good
actually have
work on
time to
that.
watch it. Yeah, and so I don't know. Watch the Netflix series and kind of come up with a case for yourself, because um, maybe it just takes some entertainment, like watching a show for more people to get into golf and golf cards. Um, so the way that it was shaken up, though, some big names were taken away from the PGA Tour, and it created a lot of stress on viewership, because having these big names not participating in kind of average tour events anymore meant that they had to kind of like scrounge up some up and coming golfers and build them up to be the next big thing, or else who wants to watch a tournament where Nate Lashley and Sahith Theegala and Adam Hadwin are like the guys fighting to win the tournament? It's like someone like me's interested, but everybody else is going to say, I'll pass. I'll just wait for the Masters to come on. So, some of the big names we lost were Phil Mickelson, Ian Poulter, who draws a big European crowd, Bubba Watson, who has a big crowd from Southern USA, Kevin Na, who draws a big Asian crowd, Brooks Koepka, the major slayer, who won 2 U.S. Opens in a row. Like, he's got like 4 or 5 majors as a modern golfer. That's crazy. Um, Dustin Johnson, Sergio Garcia, Abraham Answer. So the Mexican uh, viewer base isn't going to be watching the PGA Tour because that's their guy. So who's the other guy? There's a South American that Live got. So we lose South America in watching the PGA Tour. So maybe if Live really takes off, then the golf cards are tour independent, so it's like the cards are going to do
Right. Yeah.
well if the guys are successful on live. So that's one thing I would actually like to see live be successful for the success of golf cards. Yeah, I don't know. And so something I'll also mention before we sign off, some of the guys that did stick around on the PGA who are supposed to be featured in the series, that I think might be worth looking into. Daniel Berger, who's a guy that's been injured for a little while, on and off for a couple of years, but he was rookie of the year like maybe 6 years ago. So he's a guy I know can win. Cameron Champ, another guy who came out as a long hitter. And I think that collectors, sort of like in baseball, like if someone's kind of setting themselves apart from the field, hitting it long,
Yeah.
it draws a bit of a crowd. And he's still a really young guy, like in his early 20s. I think he could do well. Tony Finau, we've already talked a lot about. Matthew Fitzpatrick and Tommy Fleetwood, I think, could actually become really successful, but they don't have golf cards, so not worth talking about in this
Are we
conversation.
looking at Sports Illustrated for kids at some point?
You know what? Actually, that's a play. There are golf collectors that really do. We'll do a whole episode on Sports Illustrated for kids.
Scheffler's Sports Illustrated for kids, like 2017 or something, we're selling after the win this past weekend.
And we're selling this time last year when he was winning 4 out of 6 tournaments, and he won the Masters. Those Sports Illustrated for kids were definitely a card to have. Some other, like Victor Hovland is another guy who doesn't have cards, so you have to go after his Sports Illustrated for kids. But he does have a glow. Have you ever heard of Super Glow cards?
No, I haven't.
Just when we finish up here, just go to eBay and type in Super Glow Victor Hovland or Super Glow Golf. It's kind of like a startup company that started within the last year or two who's making, and they actually have some random golfers in other sports as well. And they actually have sold. So you can buy his autograph. There's a sticker auto, and they're selling for over $100.
It's kind of like Onyx. Like we've talked on the Sports Card Strategy show about Onyx autos for guys like Shedeur Sanders in football and stuff like that. So that's interesting. So hey, Mike, sorry, go ahead.
There's 2 more guys I'll mention before we sign off. Xander Schauffele doesn't have any cards, but you could pick up his Sports Illustrated for kids because I think he's going to be a popular guy in the show. And then last but not least, Jordan Spieth was slated to be like the next Tiger when he was
I remember
18 to 21 years old or whatever.
2015, 2016.
And he fell off the face of the world, but then he came back and won a couple tournaments. He's coming back into good form, and he doesn't have any proper golf cards, but he's got a Topps Chrome first pitch card. And I've actually been buying and selling those. I've actually had some success flipping his Topps Chrome refractor card, and he has some numbered parallels of that as well. And the other thing he has is a Beckett promo from, I think it's the 2016 National, where he's holding one of his major trophies. And that's another card that, I think I spent $20 or $25 on a PSA 9. So PSA 10 could be worth some money if they are out there, but nobody's going to be the next Tiger. That's how I'll end this. Is there's nobody that's going to break into the general population like Tiger did for the foreseeable future.
But it seems like golf cards are healthy and the market is healthy, and we're excited about golf season getting going here. So again, we got the Genesis Invitational this weekend where Tiger's slated to play. We've got the Netflix series Full Swing coming up. That's all this week. Mike, where can people find you? I think it's at golf_card_collector on Instagram. Is that correct? And where else can they find you? What else you got going on?
Yeah, that's correct. Golf Card Collector with the underscores. Mike Lakusta on Facebook. I'm running the golf card and memorabilia Facebook group. We've got 1,500 plus members and growing. And then, if anybody has any great golf cards out there, hit me up on Instagram. If you're not on Instagram, my email address is holein1golfcards@gmail.com. And always looking for purchases and trades and selling as well.
Awesome. Great work, Mike. We're going to be back with Golf Card Strategy Show episode 3 soon, so we'll keep you guys updated on that. Don't forget, you can go premium free for a year at nooffseason.com. We're going to add more golf card player profiles in there based on this episode, most likely, since Mike did a phenomenal job dropping some knowledge. Email me at paul@nooffseason.com to find out how. Everybody, thanks so much for watching and listening to Golf Card Strategy Show episode 2 with my guy Mike Lakusta. Could not do this, couldn't even come close to doing this without him. Let us know how you think we did. You can tweet at me at nooffseasoncard, drop a comment below, hit me up on Instagram at Sports Card Strategy, or hit up Mike at golf_card_collector. Everybody, thanks so much. Have a great day.